Hello, my name is Emma, and the semester won't end. I'm a month in, and I want it to end. I should be doing a lot of other things besides making a super booktube video, a phrase that I coined back in 2013 or so, where I combined a bunch of classic staples of booktube and put them together in a scrapbooky, fun, fancy-free fashion. But anyway, I should be working on my senior thesis, I should be working on a presentation for Adolescent Lit about Mindy Kaling, I should be doing math homework, I should be doing all of the homework, and I'm not. I'm doing this instead, so whatever, it's fine. Anyway, so yes, as aforementioned, this is a super booktube video. It's divided into 3 sections: my currently reading, which consists really of only one book, my recently read, and a book haul. So I thought this would be a fun way to get back into it and kind of give you a little bit of a reading update. I'm tired. Okay, so the first book that I want to show you is the book that I'm currently reading, and that is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, a book that I have been currently reading for over a month now. I'm 275 pages in or so out of a 700 page long book. This book, if you don't know what it's about a boy whose mother dies in a very tragic act of violence that happens in New York City at MoMA, and while he's there, he gets a hold of a very famous painting, and it's about his life. That's all I really know about it, and I'm 275 pages in. It's really, really beautifully written, and I'm really, 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 really enjoying it. It's long and sprawling and intense, and the writing is spectacular. I know why Donna Tartt won a Pulitzer, and I'm only 275 pages in, 30% into a very long book, but I can see why she won it. I really, really like it. It's hefty, and it doesn't feel like it's hefty for no reason, which I am all about. Yeah, so it's gonna probably take me the whole semester to finish this because I have other things to read, and sometimes I don't want to read this because it is kind of intense. And it is kind of a lot, so sometimes I want to read something a little easier and a little more flash in the pan, if you will. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Next, I want to show you the books that I've read recently. All for school. Actually, no, there's one that I didn't read for school, and that was for Diversathon, which was a really awesome readathon that happened a couple weeks ago. I didn't get to participate as much as I wanted to, and that really bummed me out, but I plan on continuing my reading. And reading diversely, but I read Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, which is a YA contemporary novel. I haven't read a YA contemporary in a pretty long time. It's about a girl who's allergic to everything, and it's a love story, it's a family story, it's coming of age story. It's really, really beautiful, and I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to like it. I didn't really particularly love the love story, but I enjoyed the main character's voice. I liked how incorporated mixed media elements. I thought it was really original and interesting, and I can see why the love story occurred, why she fell in love so quickly, because she had spent her entire life in this house with just her mother and her caretaker. But I wish there had been a little more development, but I can also see why that happened. Anyway, little micro review, if you will. Okay, the other books that I've read recently, I read for my Adolescent Lit class, which is interesting because I consider Adolescent Lit to be young adult lit, kind of the same thing, and I consider young adult lit to be high school age, but we read a lot of stuff that, we're reading a lot of stuff that isn't really young adult, I guess. It's more children's lit and middle grade lit. So the first book that we read for that class was The Watsons Go to Birmingham, 1963, by Christopher Paul Curtis. This is a family story about the Watsons who live in Flint, Michigan, and decide to go see their grandmother in Birmingham, Alabama, in the early 60s, when tensions in Birmingham were incredibly intense, racial tensions. It's around the time, and it incorporates the events of the Birmingham church bombing. My lights just came on. Where 4 little girls tragically were killed. This is a really funny, fun story. I remember reading it when I was in middle school, around like 6th grade probably, but it's also very intense, and it's incredibly topical for the time period we're living in now, or really from 60s on, or from whatever on, as recently more African American people are being brutally killed by police officers. So yeah, it was incredibly, it was just timely, and it was a beautiful read, an intense read, and we had lots of interesting discussions about this book and the way that we would teach it. My class is primarily for people who want to teach. I don't know if I want to do that, but yeah, talking about how would we teach this book today, and how we would tie it into current events, and the introduction of current events. Yeah, just, it was interesting to reread it as an adult. Okay, next book is a book that I did not enjoy, and that is The Last Sister by Courtney McKinney Whitaker. This is a local fiction book. I live in South Carolina. This book was written by someone who's from South Carolina, by a South Carolina publisher, the University of South Carolina Press, I believe. The Last Sister is a historical fiction YA romance about a girl named something or another. I don't remember her name. And she is living in pre-revolutionary wilderness of South Carolina, in the area that I live and grew up in, and in the mountains, and her family is brutally killed in an act of fake war. This is around the time of the Cherokee War, I believe. It's just not for me. Not for me for a variety of reasons. I don't like historical fiction from this period at all. I don't like really reading stuff about where I live very much. I don't know why, it just doesn't really interest me. I think it probably should more, but it doesn't. And I also really hated the romance. She falls in love with this guy, and they have this very intense romance, and he calls her baby, and it's just gross. So if you really like YA historical romance, I think this might be for you, but it wasn't for me. It's not poorly written, it's not even poorly constructed, it's just not for me. It's just, yeah. Okay, next we have Going Over by Beth Kephart. This is a book about the Berlin Wall. Well, not about the Berlin Wall. It's about two people, a boy and a girl, who are in love. One lives in West Berlin and one lives in East Berlin. It's set in 1983. And it's about them trying to get together. And it's also about a lot of other things, including immigration and brutality and family drama and refugees. It's really interesting. A lot of people in my class did not like it, but I really enjoyed it. The writing is very lyrical and beautiful. It goes back between the two voices, the male and the female, and it goes through time a little bit. I think it's really interesting. I don't know a lot about the Berlin Wall, and because, you know, when you're in high school in America, they sort of like, it's like Revolutionary War, where I live, Civil War, and then it's like World War II. We just forget about World War I, World War II, and then it's like rushing through the rest of history, recent history, specifically the Cold War. And it was really interesting, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was quite a fascinating read. So yeah, Going Over. Okay, so that is my recently read, and now I want to show you a book haul, including a book that I'm reading and doing my senior thesis on. I was originally going to do it on Night Film, but then I decided not to, and I picked The Razor's Edge by W. Somerset Maugham, who I now know a lot about because I wrote a paper about his life. So The Razor's Edge is a book that I read last January for my World War I class, and it is a really interesting, beautiful book about a man trying to find himself after the events of World War I through Europe. It talks a lot about masculinity, which is what I'm doing my paper on. I really am excited about this because this is a book that hasn't really been talked about a lot. I did that with Dorothy L. Sayers. I chose an author unintentionally because I just liked the author. I wasn't trying to be hip or anything, and wrote about her. And her book, specifically Gaudy Night. I can do a whole video about that if you really want me to. But The Razor's Edge was a book that I really connected with and really liked, and I like talking about gender studies, and I like talking about masculinity because, you know, toxic masculinity is a thing. And I'm not going to get into it too much right now because that would be a long video. But yes, I'm very excited about The Razor's Edge. Okay, fun books. Books that I got for fun. I'm also going to show you the books that I brought with me. I didn't bring very many, and then I just bought a bunch recently. But books that I brought from home include Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead by Sheryl Sandberg. This is a book my mom gave me, I want to say, when I was going into college, and I still haven't read it, so I've decided to read it. I also got My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This is a book that I've heard lots of good things about. from Max and from other people, but my creative writing professor was like, I really didn't like that book. And I was like, okay. And she's like, you have to tell me what you think after you finish reading it. So I will think about it, and I will read it, and I will think about it, and I will talk to her. I'll talk to you. Anyway, I also bought The Regional Office is Under Attack by Manuel Gonzalez, which I'm supposed to be doing a buddy read with Bree when I have time, but I'm very excited about this. There's another book that I got, which I can never remember the name of, but I'm doing a buddy read with Mike from Slice of Mike. It's the new China Mieville book. I have it on my Kindle. Very excited. And then on to the books that I bought recently. I went to Asheville. When you get to Asheville. Bright Star, fun musical, with a couple of my friends, and we bought a couple things. Well, I bought a couple things. They did too. I got The Cheese Monkeys by Chip Kidd, a book that is about art school. I went to art school for a while, and I'm really curious to read this. Also, this is a very nice paperback. I like the size of it. Yay. I also got The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie by Muriel Spark. If you don't know me, I love turn of the century or early, 20th century, is that the right word? 20th century? Early 20th century, fiction, women's fiction specifically. I really, really loved Our Spoons Came from Woolworths by Barbara Commons, which I want to do. If I haven't talked about that book yet, I need to do a video on it, because I loved that book. But yeah, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, which is about a teacher, I do believe. It's really small and cute, and I like this cover. I also got, these are all from used bookstores, BT Dubs. I also got Franny and Zoe by J.D. Salinger. I read Catching the Rye in high school, and I actually liked it, so I've heard, people like this one. I'm really great at descriptions. And then we did a blind date with a book, which is always really fun to do, at Malaprop's bookstore, which is a fantastic bookstore in Asheville. And my friend I got Where'd You Go, Bernadette, which I have read and own and love. So excited about Maria Simple's new book. And she got this book, and so we decided to switch, and it is Magic for Beginners by Kelly Link, which is a collection of short stories. I have read only one Kelly Link story, which I believe was in My True Love Gave to Me, that anthology that Stephanie Perkins put together, and I'm very curious to read this. Okay, on to another book I got in Asheville. I got A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James, which was at a really awesome used bookstore in Asheville. I actually checked this from my library, but then I was like, I have to return it soon, and I'm not going to get to it. So I got this book for like $7, and I was very excited because I wanted to read it for quite a while. It's told in like 8 bajillion points of view, and the Man Booker, so I love multiple points of view and the Man Booker. Sometimes, not always. And then last night, my leg is falling asleep. It's all good, guys. And last night, we decided, my friend and I, to just pretend we didn't have any responsibilities, and we went to Barnes & Noble, and I bought Furthermore by Tara Mafi. I really love Tara Mafi. I love her for a variety of reasons. I love her writing. I like the Shadow Me series quite a lot. She's also hella stylish and awesome and cool, and her love story with Ransom Riggs gives me joy and life. I'm very excited about the Miss Peregrine's movie. I still haven't read the third one. It's all good. But Furthermore, beautiful cover. Just beautiful, and I'm currently reading it. I should have put it in my currently reading section of this, but I didn't feel like it. I mean, I'm only on page 6, and I just want to spend all day reading this instead of doing anything else. But it is a middle grade novel, and I don't read a lot of middle grade, so I'm excited. Okay, on to books that I got at Ollie's. If you don't know what Ollie's is like Walmart and Target's little friend, and they throw things at them, and they make them cheap. So I found this, and I was like, hey, this is an incredibly good deal. So I got Hard Choices by Hillary Rodham Clinton, which is $4. I mean, that's a great deal for this monster of a book. Yeah, I read part of the Hillary Clinton biography written by Carl Bernstein. I really want to finish it. I really like biographies, political biographies. I think they're really interesting. They give you insight. Sure, they might be biased towards the person who wrote them, but I still think they're really interesting. Okay, I also got The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry by Rachel Joyce for, $3. And I got Out of the Easy by Ruta Septes. I've not read any of her books, and this is the only one that really interests me, just because I think it sounds interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of people like Between Shades of Grey, but I haven't read that one. Ooh, it's kind of pretty and speckled. And then the last 2 books I got are very different from each other. I got Olive Kitteridge, which won the Pulitzer Prize, and it's by Elizabeth Strout, who's coming to my town in a couple weeks, and I thought, hey, I could read one of her books, and I could actually go to her talk and, be semi-familiar. And then I got Stars of Fortune by Nora Roberts. Because when I'm sad, I like to read Nora Roberts, so that's all I can say. Alright, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this Super Booktube video. I'd love to know what you're currently reading. I'd love to know all about you. Tell me all about yourself. Are there any tags that I should be doing? Put them in the comments. I'd love to know. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.